Number 100, Finders Keepers. Starting with a really old Spectrum game, Finders Keepers, which, what I think of Spectrum is one of the games that I really kind of clearly recall. You're a little night dude, and it was that weird. I don't think the genre's still around anymore, but you kind of wander around a big space collecting stuff. I don't even know how you actually played the game. It's played it when I was so young, but just remember the vibe of it. To walk around a little night dude, big maze thing. I remember really enjoying it. I always kept going back to it. And maybe because that was one of the games that loaded on my Spectrum. I mean, because that's always when you're a Spectrum owner, you're going to play the games that load. You know, because a lot of them wouldn't load because it's just the nature of the beast. So this might have been one of the ones that just kept on loading, and I just kept on playing it. But I certainly think I enjoyed it more than some of the other kind of big games on the Spectrum, like Jet Set Willy. I always found to be a bit too vicious, a bit too aggressive in killing you off, even though it was, a good platformer. Well, at the time, whereas Finders Keepers is just kind of like, it's just one of those big, unwieldy games that you haven't really got clear to play when you're young, and you just kind of like it, and it was good. It was a good game. So yeah. Hopefully, when I've been doing this, I've kept the actual screen loading behind it, because I think people need to understand as well just how long these games took to load. I was watching a while ago. There's that Australian guy who had like a massive game collection, and a while after he did his video, it blew up. And then a while afterwards, some WWE superstars went in there, namely AJ Styles and Xavier Woods. And this is a guy, embedded in video games, his own channel and all that. And he saw a cassette, and he was like, "What's this?" And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, you could like load games from cassette." And Xavier was like, "What? From cassette?" Like, it genuinely happened. So this, I don't know if that's just because it's like an American thing. I don't know if they really had tape loaders over in America. Certainly not to the extent that we did over here. But yeah, it's bonkers that we put up with it for so long. But we did, because that was how things were. It was normal. And that's how we play games like Finders Keepers. I love my PSP. It was a great thing that I had, and there were some cracking games for it. But you always felt like kind of games were almost trying too much for the system, because of how close it was to the PlayStation 2/3 and the Xboxes. It could do those games, but it couldn't, because it didn't have all the triggers and didn't have two analog sticks. So you kind of felt these games on there were like much bigger games control wise that are being crowbarred into this smaller space. And Pursuit Force is one of those games that's like on the edge of that. It's a driving game, so it's not too hard on the controls, but a driving game with the difference that you can leap out of your car and jump in other people's cars and destroy them whilst driving. One of the single greatest advancements in the game, in the driving genre, that's been largely forgotten. But Pursuit Force was great, but you always felt like, when you're playing, like, we just want this on a big screen. I want this, like, all in your face and massive and better graphics and everything. But it still played really well on the PSP. It was still good fun. Bit of like an aggressive arcade style vibe to it. Lots of bad guys having to be gunned down by your car. So it's it's in the same vein as Chase HQ and that sort of thing. Only you can leap out of your car at any time and mess dudes up. So that's why it's superior to Chase HQ. Now, for a hot minute or two, PEGGLE was goddamn everywhere. which at the time was weird. We kind of had to go back a little bit and talk about PubCap, games company who were kind of like in the early days of not the early days of the internet, that kind of early 2000 period. We're just kind of pumping out cheapy flash games. Like Bejeweled is the one. Bejeweled is the one that people really kind of remembered. Like that's popular and got copied everywhere. That kind of, the match 3 diamonds game, whatever. And PubCap was seen in this kind of purveyor of casual games. That's probably used as an insult. And then out came PEGGLE, and it was just like, it's pachinko, but it's got this kind of cool, well, I don't know if it's cool now, but there's vibe to it where you got like unicorns and the music it plays when you get the balls in the bottom and stuff. It was just massively blew up, and suddenly this casual game company made one of the best games of that period. And obviously they went on to do Plants vs Zombies, and then got absorbed by the EA monolith and kind of lost their way after that. But there was this little period when they were still independent. PEGGLE, Plants vs Zombies. I've forgotten the games because I've got the roots from me. But there was like a little period where they were like doing these kind of amazing games off to one side. Like PEGGLE 2 released the same day as a Warcraft expansion. I'm sure it kind of did. It was a big deal, and it was really good. And it is really good. Like pachinko is just like naturally fun, but the kind of way it gives like a little edge to the skill to it, like with the powers and the drops and all that sort of thing, it kind of gives it like a little edge, like it's the luck is on you to a certain extent. Like pinball is a game of skill rather than luck, and PEGGLE, there's a bit of luck into it, but you can mitigate the luck. So yeah, still cracking game, PEGGLE. I'm not quite sure how I ended up with PGA Tour Golf 3 for the Mega Drive, but I just did. I think everybody had to have a golf game at that period. I'm not sure if it was, some form of law that you had to have it. But anyway, I had that, and I can't remember if this was the first one with the kind of motion captured golfers, that kind of Mortal Kombat video, people doing a swing and then bringing it to the game sort of stuff. So you had like real golfers rather than drawings, doing their golf action. Is that a good thing? I don't know, but it was made for a smooth game though. The engine behind it was pretty okay. It was kind of simple 3D, as much as the Mega Drive could do, but it played a good game of golf. Did play a good game of golf. I played the absolute flip out of this one. Played the absolute flip out of it. I mean, EA were really, at this point, I think all of the golf games have been kind of trodden into the dust. I can remember other ones. I think there are other ones in the Amiga prior to this, but I think by PGA Tour Golf 3, it had become like the only golf game because it absorbed all the licenses in that typical EA fashion. But it was still a good game, so yeah, what a golf game. That's right. I think technically the first mobile game, I know PEGGLE came out on phones, but Threes is a phone game to its very core. And what a simple game it is. A simple puzzle game for your phone. You get like the numbers on the screen, you can see them there. What is ones and twos, and ones together forms one and ones forms twos, and then twos go together to form other numbers. I forget how it works now. And you just kind of keep going up and up in the numbers until I think you can complete it by getting whatever the biggest number is. I'm not sure what it is. But it's some kind of unholy combination of math and those slide puzzle games, but only the slides kind of merge together. So it's all just kind of thinking about, okay, if I move that way, I need to make sure the numbers slide on that way, and then I need to make sure I don't get myself into a corner. And yeah, for like a hot minute there, I think with the vibe of it, the look of it, I can't remember when it was released, but it felt like it was in that kind of early indies kind of vibe where they were independent games starting to kind of get there, become more and more of a thing with that kind of twee vibe to it, like all the voices from the numbers and the kind of music and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of had that going for it as well, but it was still like a really good puzzle game. I remember playing it mercilessly, the high school competitions with my wife for a period there. She came out on top because I'm just not good at numbers, but I like moving them around. So yeah, what a game.
No.
The Sims. The Sims. Now this one, I think I had it for my laptop. And this was one of the games I got really can't play the most on there. Just because it was a good way just to pass the time. I mean, when the first Sims came out, it was pretty much... There was hardly anything like it, especially like a big release just to be like a sandbox game. But basically, I mean, I'm sure there's other things, other game descriptions for it, but it's like, you know, mess around with people. It's the game where you build walls around people and then keep making them drink water. It's that kind of game where people just kind of do what they want. And yeah, it was fun building your house, getting your sim a job, watching him go off to work and come back and buy him a new TV and everything, and then getting bored of playing it properly and working on all the cheats and just kind of go crazy with it. Yeah, Sims. I mean, not much more you can say about it. It's just a fun game that.
Operation Wolf.
Now, Operation Wolf. This is a tricky one here. Now, this is firmly an arcade game on here. I think the first arcade game. Yeah, first arcade game, and it's in here really because of the cabinet. I mean, it's a light gun game. It's a game where you going into, I think, rescuing POWs or something. You're shooting bad guys, shooting bad lads, basically. But that cabinet with a big Uzi strapped to the front of it. Oh my goodness! As a child, seeing that, it was just like, give me the money for it, please. I want to play that. And you know, the actual game itself, fairly perfunctory. You know, pointing the gun at people to shoot them. I don't think there's a whole lot to it than that, but it's just, you know, the theatre of it, of that arcade machine, of being there, holding that Uzi, just blasting dudes away. Or it's still just, you know, the power of a hunk of plastic strapped to a big wooden box is can't be understated. I don't think can't be understated because it was a very good time. I miss arcades. Stunt car racer. Oh boy, this is one I had, I think, for the Amiga. When I got my Amiga, we'll hear more about my Amiga later. My cousin basically gave me like a big box full of discs that had various games on them. Not proud of it, but that's what the Amiga was like. It was just that kind of bit of a pirated console. Jesus Christ, bit of a pirated computer. I had those games, and one of them was Stunt Car Racer, which, oh boy, as you know, as a concept, it's one of those games that was probably like a good 15 years ahead of its time. You were racing, it's a car racing game, 3D car racing game from Jeff Crammond. Loves the simulation, but this is like on big kind of undulating roller coaster style tracks with kind of big jumps and big humps in them and stuff, and gaps in the track and stuff. And it was you racing around these in your car around these tracks, try not to go flying off into the air. And oh boy, was it tough, because I mean, it was a simulation game. It was a proper racing game strapped to this over the top experience, which made it really hard to play in places. You know, trying to get, there's like a little one that's like little mini towers. You can kind of skip your car across them and just get in. It's just hard. It's a hard game to play. But it's still, you know, you still want to come back to it because, oh, it can't be that hard driving the car around here. Well, actually, it is that hard driving the car around here. But as something from that time, boy, it was shooting for the stars. And it may not necessarily have got there, but it was still a cracker of a game, cracker racing game. Back in the Amiga again, with one of the sports games I played the most on the machine, which is World Championship Boxing Manager, which is manager sim. You kind of, as a boxing promoter, have your own little stable of boxers, train them up, casual misogyny with your secretary in your office. train them up, and then off you go into boxing matches, and they kind of go boxing. You control a second, so you've got the cut man to kind of fix the wounds, get them all back into shape, and you've got the offering tactics and stuff, and it was good. I mean, I remember building up loads of boxes and trying to get them through, and I don't remember getting anywhere, but it's just fun. Once you're able to name somebody in a game, give them kind of their own name, then I think you automatically form a relationship with them, like an emotional connection to them, which it's a very kind of basic level, but you're like, he's your guy. I want my guy to win because I named him and he's my guy. Let's go. We can do it together. And it's got that kind of vibe to it. And yeah. So World Champion Boxing Manager was a fun time. Despite, like I say, the casual sexism of the secretary. But, it was a different time. A different worse time. Earthworm Jim. I think the guy behind Earthworm Jim's cancelled now because of his slightly iffy political views. So we'll have to put that to one side right now because I can't remember definitely the details right now. But Earthworm Jim as a game was one of those kind of mind-blowing games that kind of came out towards the end of the Mega Drive, well, middle towards the end. But you had like Aladdin, which was this kind of like almost revelatory animation experience on the machine, thinking, oh my god, that looks really good. And then like this follows, it's like, well, this looks even better. Look at Jim walking around. I mean, never mind like how he's like a little too floaty and he never feels like he quite connects to the world around him. But he looks amazing and his idle animations are brilliant, and it's a pretty straightforward run and gun platform game. But your head to worm, you can use it to swing around levels, and you shoot a cow up into the sky, and it comes back to you later in the game in a brilliant way. And yeah, it's just it was just a cracking game. It was really fun, and it was just the kind of complete package of all it needed was kind of good to decent controls, and coupled with that look, and it was always going to do well, and it did. It did massively well. Got a sequel, got a cartoon series off the back of it, and all that. And the game itself is still really fun. I just love Jim's animation when he shoots the gun. It just looks ridiculous. Yeah, Earthworm Jim. Not the best of the kind of gunny platform games for the Mega Drive, but certainly one of the best looking, which made it one of the most fun.